TNA man, he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yo, what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man, who always thinks he can. And oh yeah, your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the Yard Streams for another edition of Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off, okay? And it's not just me, Patty P. I'm also joined by the best of the West. You can't forget about Sarah Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Greetings. How we doing on this fine-ass Thursday?
Stressed out. It's just a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Just gonna be busy. It's good. It's good. I mean, you got, before we hopped in here into the yard, we had to hop into the officina. We're gonna crank out some shit for the Patriots. As we got that game on Sunday at 1 p.m. You got football back, and obviously wrestling's at its peak right now. I mean, you can attest to this. We've both been so busy and whatnot that it's such a joy to come home or stop work and you throw it on for enjoyment. You know it's going to be a good show. It's not like years ago, you know what I mean, where it just added to the stress levels. You know what I mean? It's just like, and it's the big thing that I'm seeing now is that it's constantly updating news. It's everyone's talking about it now. It's awesome.
Did you see that Cody and Solo is opening SmackDown?
Yeah, I did catch that. Okay, good. All right, my ears didn't deceive me. He said kickoff.
They want to get those ratings high right away because it's their first SmackDown on USA. So I'm assuming that's why they want to start out hot, because they want people to tune in right away. And then that also means, like, okay, what is the main event going to be? Is it going to be bigger than that? You know,
what could be bigger?
The Rock.
Yeah, I could see it.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but that would. Roman's been off TV, and so it's like The Rock could be involved somehow. I don't know.
I would like to see. I'd like to find out. Like, I would like to know where they're going with that, because to open the show with the championship match on a PLE, totally get it, makes sense. But on a free show, get out, like, there has to be more to this match, and I'm even more intrigued. I did catch that when I saw the video of Papa Paul.
Richard says that people think that Solo might get kicked out. I would see that only if The Rock is involved, but still, I don't know. I don't know if I like that idea.
I don't know either, because I had a thought of him being kicked out and rejoining his brothers, his brothers, and then it would be the four of them, Sami Zayn versus, the trios of the Tongans. You got Jacob Fatu, and then The Rock, or a couple, like something like I
don't know.
That's with Survivor Series being announced right now. It also doesn't mean that it's coming up. We still have September. It's only the 12th. Oh, geez, 12th. And then we have entire October, and then it's not till the end of November. That's a lot of time in wrestling. It's a lot of time when you want to develop the story, especially with them attacking the Street Profits and Frazier and Axiom on Tuesday night, showing up at NXT. That piques my interest even more because I didn't really think the Bloodline were on that caliber
Mm-hmm.
of just swapping shows. So the whole thing interests me.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and find out. Wait and see. In the meantime, let's hear from the peeps. Dickie, we already heard from him, but what's up? What's popping? Nathaniel, was popping with you? I am not getting the Street Trash t-shirt. I actually you bring up the shop. I did get the CM Punk bracelet today, and I'm pissed though because I wanted to get
Oh, it's
the
back on the shop.
They changed it from AJ and Larry to CM Punk.
I think that's a good idea.
It's the smartest thing they could have done. Now everyone can shut up and WWE save themselves, whatnot. However, that's not what I'm here to discuss. Why my anger is because I'm gonna be getting that in however many business days. What I'm not getting though is the John Cena camo football jersey. It was on the shop. I'm so mad at myself. This is a lemon of the week. Not even a lemon in wrestling, just a lemon for Patty Pitts. I had a chance to buy it. It said low in stock.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? I'll do it after work or whatnot. Boom. Gone. To Chalkline, the actual site where it's with who they're partnered with. And it was one, cheaper, which obviously it was, but two, also sold out.
Mm.
So I put my name on a notification list.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring it back.
I hope so. I really do. I need to have weird wrestling merch like that. Like obviously we have that one, the DX Suck It. My buddy had that. Like they're just those weird little merch items, like the baseball jersey, football jerseys, and whatnot. I think that's a nice little crossover. But when done, you can't do all of them because there are some that are just horrific, hideous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the ones they do well, they do it well. So I will be interested in that. Bills Dolphins tonight. Mr. Anderson wants to know Bills Dolphins tonight. Josh Allen is 6-0 on Thursday night.
I would love for it to be the Dolphins.
I would too. Shit.
I hate the Bills.
See,
I mean, I hate all the AFC East teams, but
what part of the Bills do you hate the most?
Josh Allen.
Oh, see, I hate Sean
and
McDermott the most.
and their head coach. Yeah,
I don't like.
He's
Sean
a piece
McDermott.
of shit.
Josh Allen dating my girl though, but I don't hate Josh Allen.
I just don't like him. I think he's annoying, and I think he's overrated. He's a clown. Also, I think he said something not that long ago about like someone starting a fight or whatever, and then like not sticking around. I'm like, bro, that's what you do. There's videos of you flopping like a weirdo, and there's like compilation videos of him starting fights with teams and walking away because he wants his teammates to do it for him. I'm like, you're a puss. That's what it is.
Interesting. I don't hear that stuff. It's me. That's why I'm too busy swimming with the fishes and slinging it too. Busy day driving around. And any more comments here? No. So in that case, let's just go right into our favorite segment of the week.
Be a lemon. Be a rosebud.
Don't be a lemon, Sara. Be a rosebud. It is time for our favorite and least favorite things in the wrestling world this week are lemons and rosebuds. So, Sara, I'm going to let you start it off here, ladies, first, with what your favorite thing in all of wrestling is this week.
I would say it is Chelsea Green versus Julia, and I think that people are not giving enough credit to Chelsea Green for that. People were passing around the peak viewership and crediting Julia for it, and obviously, yeah, she's a draw, so like people wanted to see. So I'm not saying that that's not true, but in regards to their match, I think that people are overlooking the significance of them choosing Chelsea Green, of all people, to be her first opponent, and how good Chelsea was in the match. Like, we've talked a lot about how people have a hard time looking past unserious gimmicks and thinking that that somehow defines how good of a performer somebody is in the ring. And Chelsea falls in that category more often than not with people, because it's like, oh, she's just a Karen, she wants to talk to the manager, she's just like funny and blah blah blah, and then like she's not able to do a ton of stuff in the ring, and then somehow that equates to her not being a good wrestler. And it's like, that's not the case at all.
Not at all.
It's just she's
Yeah.
fitting a role and she's playing it perfectly. And although she's still doing that, this was an opportunity for people to see, like, no, Chelsea can turn it on when she's given the opportunity to. And I think that she did that with Julia. I mean, like, I think people need to remember that Roxanne has been being groomed to be Julia's first like feud.
Easily, yeah.
And
easily.
She had to have like special training to prepare for how Julia wrestles. The fact that Chelsea didn't have that, and they were like, no, we trust you and we think that you're going to do a great job against her, like, that's pretty cool. And I feel like Chelsea deserves to be applauded for that, instead of like people just focusing on
Julia, the main
Julia,
target,
then that's
the
it,
main attraction.
Yeah.
With Chelsea Green, one thing people fail to realize sometimes in wrestling is that it takes two to tango. It is a dance in the grand scheme of things. And as great as it is for someone to be dominant in the ring, you also need someone who can sell the shit out of moves and can take moves so that it looks way more brutal than what it is. Chelsea Green knows all of that because she's experienced. She's well traveled in the Wrestleverse, going to every promotion from Lucha Underground, Impact, TNA, whatever you want to call it. And someone fact check me on this, but my gut is telling me that she's wrestled in Japan. So when you have someone on your roster with that much experience and is so open to just playing a role, there's no ego of I need to be champion. It's how can I do my character the best of my ability to not only make me look great, but also the person that I'm doing this dance with. She is the best example for that. And, I wish that she would get the more obvious recognition. And by that, I mean like more TV time or competing in the title picture of some sorts. Give her that recognition, because when you listen to her in interviews, she's so selfless. That's the word I'm looking for. She's so selfless when it comes to just booking and whatnot. Like, she gets that it doesn't matter if she's holding the championship at the end of the match or if she's throwing a hissy Karen fit as I bounce up and down here, and going ballistic. It's about getting the reaction out of the fan, and she knows that better than anybody. Couldn't have had a better opponent for Julia's first match, debut match.
Yeah. And people don't recognize these like people in this position like Chelsea, because people always just want to talk about the accolades and the championship and if you're in the main event and whatever, and that somehow defines how good somebody is. And that's not true, because there are levels in wrestling. There are main eventers, there are mid-carders, there are even the people that are putting on the the dark matches before a show begins. Like, everybody has a role and it all matters. And it's unfortunately seeming to become like a little bit less common for people to not be in business for themselves. And like obviously you do have to have that to an extent, because otherwise people wouldn't be in
You
certain
walk over. You get walked over.
Cody Rhodes is like the biggest one of them all, right? He went into business for himself, but rightfully so. But when you are in a huge company like this, it's like it takes everybody. It's like a collaborative effort to be putting on a good show every single night. And so, Chelsea might not be where she wants to be necessarily. Maybe she wants to be the women's champion like right now, but she doesn't have a sneaky attitude about it. She's taking the opportunities that she's given and thriving and like stealing the show. And this just encapsulated that, I feel. So hats off to Chelsea.
Hats off. Hats off there. I will start my rosebud with my hat off, because part of my rosebud this week is a little bit personal for a good reason. I got my haircut finally after 2 cancellations. Finally get it, and every time I go, my hairdresser asks, "What are we going with?" And I showed her a picture of Ethan Page and said this. I like his side, the shaved on the sides, the long on the top, and it flops over, comb, all that new hair. Crushed it. She crushed it. Shout out to Kim. She crushed it clearly. Obviously I'm wearing a hat now, but I was out all day walking the mean streets of Boston, looking fucking fine as hell. I'm sorry. I looked good. Only issue, shirt too big. Shirt was a little too big. But that's just me. Enough about me. Let's talk about my favorite thing in wrestling this week. And there's so much that I could say about, the prop, but I really like, what, fuck it. I'm doing it. We're going to make this into, because I want to talk about it. I truly believe that NXT is must-watch television, wrestling television at least, every single week. Every time I watch NXT, I, 1, am thoroughly entertained. 2, I know the people and I can see that they've got better week to week, and they're making me want to invest in them. But 3, they make you want to watch next week. The flow of the shows goes so well into each other, and it's done so well that we're kind of talking about this with the Raw going down to 2 hours, is that it makes 2 hours feel like 1, which is how a good wrestling show should be.
Yeah, well, and they've come a long way, as we've talked about, because
Long way.
I don't even know if you would say, I mean, everybody I think just refers to it as NXT now. It's not NXT 2.0 or whatever. And I think that they've earned that right, I guess we could say, because they were trying to rebrand and redevelop the entire point of having NXT, and that was why Vince was like, let's do this and let's get a new logo and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, none of that really worked. I think some of it was just kind of like learning how to go about things from Shawn Michaels, because I guess it's good to go into it and be like, okay, let's rebrand with a new person taking over and calling the show, whatever. Like all of that works and that benefits them, because then they don't have to try to replicate what someone did before them. But I also feel like he kind of took over at a chaotic time because of everything that ended up happening with Vince, and then like Triple H is taking over, and it's like, what are we doing? And the pandemic, and it's like everything was just a mess. So now I think that he's definitely hit his stride, and there's a reason why NXT numbers are consistent like every single week. Like they're not competing with Raw or SmackDown numbers, but there are plenty of people on that roster that if they had a dark match on one of the main event shows, or if they were surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, like people would be excited. You know, if Oba Femi shows up as a royal entrant, like people are gonna lose their mind, and that
You
says a
talking about my
lot.
dog? You
You
talking about
know,
my dog, Obafemi?
because it's like, you
I'm
know,
obsessed with
if you said this maybe like 2 years ago, there really wasn't anyone that people would be like,
No.
oh, you know, but there, you can tell that the Raw and SmackDown audiences are actually paying attention much more, it seems,
Much more.
what's going on in NXT than they had. So that's like a really good sign for this, whatever NXT is doing, but also the future.
Let's put it, sum it up pretty nicely. The Heritage Cup, when it came over, okay, I thought it was the dumbest fucking thing. I was like, what do we fight? It's a trophy. How do we make that like a championship? Whatever. They've made it so, they've done so well in making it legitimate by having the no quarter catch crew, William Regal's son, Charlie Dempsey, take it and then be, you know, creating his own little group there and, you know, making it more about the wrestling. It's the wrestling championship, but it's not a championship. And then having the family be involved, which the family I thought was just another Hollywood trying to be mafioso. But I'm fully invested in Tony D'Angelo and Rizzo.
I think they're
Spitfire.
kind of transitioning a little bit to being more of a character that, or a group or whatever, that might have more success on the main roster than if they just stuck with being like the Sopranos, a copy, you know what I mean? Like that was something that I was saying, like, yeah, it might be entertaining right now, but that doesn't strike me as the type of character gimmick that's going to last on the main roster, because we've seen more of the theatrical, or I don't know how to say it, like, you know, those types of gimmicks don't work from NXT to Raw and SmackDown, and that's why they flop, or they have to go back down to NXT and like refigure it out. Like we said it with Wendy Chu, like that's not going to work on Raw and SmackDown. They're going to have to figure something out. So I think that they're doing a pretty good job with the family to kind of make it something that can actually last long term and not be so like gimmicky. If I don't know if I'm like saying
No,
it,
you're explaining it right.
yeah.
Did you see that Wendy Chu will be taking on Jordan Grace at Victory Road for
I
the
did. I'm
Knockouts
like
Women?
not sure how I feel about it, but I mean, good
It
for
may
her, I
just be
guess.
no, great for Wendy Chu that she's getting some sort of championship opportunity. I wish I cared more is the nicest thing I can say.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Nathaniel, not nice of you saying that my haircut makes me look like the Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
We
gee.
say that was very rude of you. It was really rude of you. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking at comments here while I do that. Sarah, I don't want to do it because I'm feeling kind of great. But what was that lemon? What's that lemon? Squeeze it out for me.
My lemon would be this beef between Kevin Nash and Logan Paul. I'm just Logan, I think, just doesn't get it. I think that's the thing, is like, obviously he took issue with Kevin Nash saying he was an outsider, which at the end of the day, it's not an insult because it's true. You did not go through the same battles that everybody else around you did, you know, going to wrestling school or going through NXT, the Performance Center, like to be a wrestler because that's what you wanted to do. That's not, it's just different. There is a different vibe, and they are going to be treated differently. Obviously, everybody for the most part has been flooding Logan with compliments about just how naturally good and athletic he is and how good he is at the character that he's doing. So it's like, it's not an insult to you. It's saying, like, you know, there are certain things that you can and can't do as an outsider that you have to be more careful of as an outsider. And I don't really remember what the basis of what Kevin Nash said. I don't think it matters, because I think that people take snippets of what somebody says, they put that online, and that's all people see. They don't know what the context is or why they're saying it. So they just see a 30-second, 60-second clip, and then they jump off from there. And I think that might be the case with Logan, who responded in his own video. And I think that he just kind of needs to remember, like, you need to take a step back. Like, you might not agree with what they're saying, but Kevin Nash is a staple in professional wrestling. Like, he's a legend, whether you like what he said or not. You don't have to like what he said. And a lot of the fans don't like what he says a lot of the time on his podcast. But Logan being so dismissive or like disrespectful or like taking
You're not about it.
so personally, I'm not into it, because like, bro, you talk a lot of shit about people, and you've said things about wrestlers and whatever, and like, you've shown your ignorance to the business on your own podcast. So someone calling you out about it shouldn't be hurtful, so I just think that there's a way to go about this, especially where you're still trying to be taken seriously and in something that you weren't accustomed to. I mean, you're still new to professional wrestling, you're not around,
so yeah,
and he's hinted at wanting to do this full time. And I don't know that going back and forth with a legend like Kevin Nash, who's BFFs with Triple H, is the best way to go about that. Like, you might want to be a little bit more cautious with how you handle things, Logan, but that's just me.
I really have nothing to add. I'm not biggest Logan Paul fan, but real recognize real. Dude can fucking ball in the ring.
Well, and
other than that, I just don't care.
I believe Kevin has even said that before, but it's just everyone has, I think that the issue, was it the money issue? Is that what it was? I can't remember the quote. It was like Logan was getting paid a ton of money and was only doing a couple shows, whereas like all these other people are, I don't remember.
Hypocritical.
It's like, yeah, what's hypocritical?
Getting a boatload of money and only doing certain shows.
Hypocritical of Kevin saying that?
Yes.
That's what people were saying, but I do think that it's a little bit, we're talking different times and different companies. So I'm not saying that he's completely not a hypocrite, but I'm saying like, maybe his mind has changed since he was able to manipulate his contract. You know what I mean? So I think that he understands like everything is a lot more intense now. And like, Logan was a champion and was never around to defend it. And it's like, yeah, because it was never serious. And so I'm sure that a lot of this is rooted in other issues and it just came out in a different way. Obviously, Logan talks about wrestling and stuff on his podcast constantly. So he's opening that door for people to reference things that he says, and I think that's just what Kevin was reacting to, and obviously Logan didn't like it, and I think he said some stupid stuff, but
it is what it is, as it says.
Jay is being silly in the comments. I can't.
Always being silly. Okay.
Yeah, I can't
my lemon, as always, just for the bit, we were just doing it for the bit.
Well, I even have stuff to say about this too.
Huh?
I even have stuff to say about
this. Oh, no, Sarah. I'm just teasing that to go with the bit. We're gonna go more into that for like a more.
Well, I meant centered. I have something. I have an issue with something that happened on Dynamite.
I was gonna bring that up.
I know, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I have something to add to that too.
Okay, we're gonna get there.
Okay.
We're gonna get there. I want to hear it because that I have a lot to say about that entire segment as well. But before we get there, I do want to hear from the peeps because I love that you guys are putting your own rosebuds and lemons in. Keep it going because I saw one already in here that I would consider that a rosebud. Not really wrestling related, kind of. But a rosebud for comedic purposes was R-Truth commenting on the whole Shannon Sharp thing, like when he was in the IG live. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just search on Twitter. All right, we're talking wrestling.
He did a play.
He like R-Truth commenting in that IG live was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I'm just glad that Shannon just owned it instead of trying to act like, the
Yeah.
original thing was like, oh, I was hacked. And I think that that's the go-to for everybody. And I understand. And I think that he probably did that at first because he didn't realize like how long the video had been. So he didn't know like, oh, people heard your name and heard you talking, so like you kind of can't just say this was an accident or it was a hack. But yeah, R-Truth getting so involved in it was pretty funny.
The grunting was too much for me. But no, back to wrestling and you peeps. Thank you for doing that. Please keep doing it. It's one way that we've seen this channel grow. We want to see it grow even more. So let's just kick it off with one that is AEW. Romero. Rosebud, the Outrunners during the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. I didn't expect the pop that they got. Because I follow people on Twitter that are fans of the Outrunners, and I'm a fan of them. They're pretty cool. But the pop that they got, you would have thought that they're about to win the tag team titles. Like, it was wild to me. And for a reference, Sara, they look straight out of the 80s. Like the whole bit, like the mustache, it's so fucking hilarious. They're Collision staples, let's put it that way. But
maybe they'll be called, like maybe they'll show up more now.
Yeah, they might get called up to Rampage. Who knows? Vinny's Rosebud Braun Breaker promo calling Butch Pete. I mean, Braun Breaker doing all of those was so well done. And I loved how with Jay's, he said that no member of my family has lost to your family. So that was really, that's a family issue right there. Mr. Anderson doesn't have a rose, but he has a lemon, and it's Jey Uso. He corrected it in a comment afterwards, with becoming the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. Listen, man, if it makes you feel any better, any consolation, he's probably not going to win. All right, he's probably not going to win, but he's in the title. Jey Uso,
yeah, he's not winning.
He's not, and that's okay. But he's competing in a championship match. That's the main focus right now.
I think it's something that people need to move on from at this point. Not that it's never going to happen for Jay, but I think that it's not happening right now because it just doesn't make any sense for him to win right now.
It does,
and it's not going to happen on the back of Braun Breaker, who needs to be the champion and have a push. Like, he's brand new. Jay is almost 40 years old. It's like,
I want to see Braun Breaker and the Dogs Out put a unbelievable title reign together. Rosebud for Dickie. Hell in a Cell confirmed for CM Punk. Drew McIntyre. We love that too. Julia's debut and the Motor City Machine Guns are allegedly WWE bound. And Lemon, Raw going back to 2 hours, even if it's temporary, because roster is too big. However, Jay, you did bring up something that is actually the first topic in our main course of Around the Wrestleverse. Sara, the Motor City Machine Guns are allegedly
again.
But it's more like I feel like we had a video, but
yes, that's what I'm saying. We've talked about this already because it was like when the news initially was announced that they were free agents, it was like they're going to NXT, and then it was like nothing was said again, and now it's picking up again, and everyone's like they're going to NXT. I'm like, didn't we say this like 3 months ago?
I want to see if Fightful confirmed it.
Yeah, because it was PWN again. And the thing is like, I'm not saying that you can't believe anybody that isn't, Fightful or PWI or something like that. But it feels like there has been a rise in wrestling accounts claiming to have inside sources that are nameless and don't have websites, and like you don't know who they are, and yet people just jump and believe it. And I feel like you need to have these people need to establish credibility before we start just like assuming that they are legitimate, because it's hard for me to believe when it's not certain sites saying it, because it's like, if I don't know you and you don't even go by a name, like, how do I know you're telling the truth? I don't know.
Sending this over here. Yeah, I haven't found anything. So
I think that
just
they had
they
last
are.
said that he didn't. I think Sean said he didn't have any updates. So
basically, we're just
I think we're in the same spot we
rehashing.
were like a few months ago when it was first said. Maybe we're closer to it like them debuting, and that's why it's being talked about again. I don't know, but
Okay.
it also will be interesting because right now the tag team champions are baby faces, and everyone assumed that they would come in as baby faces. So
I heard face of the tag division, as
I mean, they kind of
fucking should be.
They need it, but I also hope that this means that whenever they get moved to Raw or SmackDown, that they will be putting more of an effort into the tag divisions, because people love to watch tag team wrestling, and WWE has so many really good tag teams that we're not able to see on a weekly basis. And again, it's kind of like when we've talked about the women's tag division, like, okay, putting the tag titles on Bianca and Jade might not be what everybody wants to see, because the Unholy Union, like, they deserved it too because they were a big tag team in NXT, but putting them on Bianca and Jade guarantees that they're going to be on the shows every week. So that might have to be that needs to be happening with the men's division as well, because it's not okay that these people are holding the tag titles on Raw and SmackDown and they're never defending them, or they're never even on the show, whatever. So if that's going to happen with like Motor City Machine Guns, then I'm for it, as long as it's like a good thing for not just NXT, that it extends to Raw and SmackDown.
If it makes you feel any better, the AEW tag division, for the teams that they have, is in shambles. Like,
it's very confusing to me why it's not a priority right now for like anybody.
It's no one has a fantastic tag division.
Well, it's like they have the talent, they just like
competitive.
don't
I don't want to say
they don't
fantastic.
Yeah, it's like they're good
more
talent, but they just don't feature them or like whatever. And it's unfortunate because people love tag team wrestling. That's why people are still trying to be a tag team.
Yeah, tag team wrestling is awesome, and it's one of those things where there is a big difference between a good tag team and a great tag team. So entertaining to watch. I would rather be in the WWE spot with the tag team where they're getting showcased. Yeah, it may not be competitive and no real bad blood that makes you want to have your ass glued to the seat during their PLE match. But goddamn, it's the Young Bucks and that's it for
and
the
there's
tag division.
three.
They had the Casino Royale tag team match on Wednesday night. That's a lemon. Fuck it. The team that won isn't a tag team. It's Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. And they're not going to be a tag team. Like, the whole purpose was that Don Callis turned in a favor for Will Ospreay to team with Kyle Fletcher, which the whole point of that is because the Callis family needed a win and he's going to manipulate them. That doesn't seem like a tag team thing, you know what I mean? And they had some good tag teams in there. Problem is, they're kind of just like, it's like, okay, they're cool, but love, like, FTR, I get, they're awesome.
Yeah,
like,
but how many times are you going to do it with FTR though?
FTR just the top, like, you just did the top guys.
I know, but I mean, you can't keep putting the tag titles on the same people.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
But FTR is FTR. I'm not talking about them when I talk about the tag division. I'm talking about the other teams in it. Like, you have the Acclaimed, like the Outright. I mean, that's the other thing. There's no like teams.
Yeah. That's because
Top Flight's cool though. I like Top Flight, but like they're not serious. Like,
part of the issue, I think, is that they don't sign tag teams, or there's not a lot of like indie tag teams anymore. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the people that are in wrestling in the indies or whatever are single stars, so like when at least that's what the most people are talking about. There isn't like a current Young Bucks out there where people are like, oh my God, if only they were in AEW or WWE the way that the Young Bucks were for so long. There really isn't that anymore. But and that I think is impacting AEW because that is like where they get their talent. It's either ex WWE people or they're trying to sign like the top indie free agents. And so that's impacting, I think, their tag team division.
The Gates of Agony are grizzly young veterans who are formerly were in Schism. Grizzly young vets.
Mhm.
Like all of the best tag teams are either thrown together or they're factions. They're just straight up factions.
Mhm.
Like I haven't seen all the like this thing, the Kingdom, but the Kingdom is obviously Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Roderick Strong. Like they're not like tag teams, and
I'm confused
I
why
would
you're
rather be.
repeating this. I did say that. I don't understand. What did I say that's wrong?
He might
I'm
be
not sure.
agreeing with you.
I don't know. Maybe he
Like
said
the
it twice, like,
conglomeration is my favorite faction right now, but that's not a team. That's four single stars put together that just work. I don't know.
I think Triple H would slightly disagree, and I think the reason you're saying this is because you're upset about Judgment Day having the titles, because otherwise the Bloodline have the tag titles on SmackDown. I still don't think that it was a bad idea for Judgment Day to have the tag titles. I think it's just how they've gone about booking them since Finn and JD won. That is the problem, obviously, because I think it fit their story. For it to be Finn and JD. It made sense given what was going on with Damian, but obviously now it's just not working. So, and they never should have put the tag titles on the Bloodline anyway. I said that from the beginning.
Yeah,
So
I
we were not into that at all. So
that's what I'm saying. No one knows how to. No tag division is doing well with putting the belts on a team. That's going to defend it at least once a month at the pay-per-view. We don't. They're not.
mhm.
So I hope Motor City Machine Guns that changes shit. All right. What's next? We did that one. I got that one down. Yeah, let me get this up. WWE. It was tweeted out. This is in our messages here, Sarah. So let me go grab it. But basically, before I get the actual quote, the WWE is planning on cutting down the amount of live events that they do in a year. It was tweeted out by I'm gonna
It was
find
from
it
Mark
here.
Shapiro.
Mark
Mark
Shapiro.
Shapiro
Thank
said
you.
it.
Oh, there we go. TKO President Mark Shapiro state. This is from a tweet from Wrestling Ops. TKO President Mark Shapiro states that WWE will be cutting down on live events even more next year and explains taking on less of the marginal profitable events. And then Shapiro goes on and says, what we're doing is cutting events at WWE. So we're taking our marginally profitable events, untelevised events that Vince had put in place to grow the brand, right? You're taking the show on the road, and we got to go to every city we can to grow the WWE brand. Well, the WWE brand, while we still have to grow it, it's on fire right now. So we don't need to carry these marginally profitable events. So what was 300 events last year will roughly be 250 this year, and next year will be close to 200. So they're cutting. It's not, slicing it in half or whatnot. They are baby steps backwards, which I do like that idea because maybe they'll see that it was a little bit more profitable.
Yeah, I think it's more so like, if they are, they do a show in Seattle and then for Raw, and then it's like, okay, then the house shows are going to be in Walla Walla, and then they're gonna go and do Boise, Idaho, and then it's like, yeah, there's these random cities that you don't have to do. You know what I mean? Because like, for reference, Walla Walla is probably like 4 hours or something away from Seattle. So like, yeah, obviously you're catering to people who can't easily get to Seattle by doing a show in Eastern Washington, because those people are more likely to show up than drive the 4 hours. However, how many people are actually showing up to that Walla Walla show that are in that area? Because a lot of people travel also. Like I would go to a Raw in Seattle, and I would drive down to Portland to go to SmackDown. And it's like, people are going to be there at the Walla Walla show, for instance, that are probably not even in the area. There's probably people who did drive 4 hours to go because they wanted to go to a live event.
Exactly.
So I think cutting those obviously is good for costs for them. It also allows them to give the talent more time off.
They need it. They
and
friggin' need it.
less risk of injury also.
Mm.
And I think that it opens the door for them to up shows eventually, like if they wanted to, but it's true, like what he said, they're not really trying to convince people to watch WWE right now. People are watching it. Like if you're going to be a fan, you're watching it right now. So they don't need to go to all these teeny tiny cities to try and be like, hey, you should watch, or come to the show and you'll watch. They don't have to do that anymore. You can just hit the big cities and dip. Like that should be enough. That's what I think they're doing anyway.
No, they are. It's I'm more on the boat that they're doing it for injuries and protecting the talent, because that's more profitable at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't disagree with your theory either. That definitely is a contributing factor.
I saw some people were upset about it, but I'm like, I get it if you live in the middle of absolutely nowhere, then like, yeah, that might suck. But like at the same time, you have to realize if you live like 2 hours away from a major city or something, mostly anything that you would want to do, not just wrestling, a concert or, I don't know, a circus, you know what I mean? Like something that a traveling show or whatever, like you're going to have to travel to the main city to go to that. It's not just wrestling. It's like any sort of traveling entertainment. It's just, you live where you live. You got to sacrifice that if you want to go and see something that you enjoy, unfortunately.
Traveled 45 minutes. They're actually like 30 minutes or whatever, which is still a long time to some people. All right.
I've gone to shows that were 5 hours away. I've driven to Vegas to go to a Raw. I've driven to LA to go to a Raw or SummerSlam. Like I've driven, and it's like, you decide that. You don't have to do that.
Kind of fun. It's all about if you're a road trip person or not.
Yeah. I mean,
you can do road trips, then it's not that bad.
Well, I think we need to remember that these are the wrestlers and the crew that set up all of the shows are human beings, and they're doing all of this for our entertainment at the end of the day, and they deserve to be at home with their families. Like, why do you think it was such a big deal that Triple H was like, no, we're not doing shows on Christmas, or we're not doing on the week of Thanksgiving? That was a huge deal because Vince didn't give a fuck. They were doing shows on Christmas Day because he didn't care. He was like, all that matters is that you guys are performing. And it's like, no, they deserve to have these days off like anybody else does. So I think that this should be fine unless they see profits dip. Then it doesn't seem like it's an issue.
I wonder if marginally dip, really.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that turns out. Really am. All right, let's get rid of that. Yeah, let's keep it. We got WWE. Let's keep going with it. Drew McIntyre was on a podcast, and
no,
he
was doing an AMA on Reddit.
Fuck, that is what it was.
Yeah, for the movie.
Let me rewind here. Drew McIntyre was doing an AMA on his Reddit page for the new movie that he's in, Killer Game, I think it is.
With Batista.
It's with Batista. I did know that, but I think it's Killer Game. Doesn't matter. He was on his Reddit page doing an AMA, and he was asked what his dream faction in WWE would be. And Sara sent it to me so that we could talk about it here as I get it up. He obviously said his buddy Sheamus, Braun Breaker, the champ of the Peeps guy, Obafemi, which may the dude's onto something. Dude is onto something.
It's almost like it almost feels kind of like a evolution mixed with a what was that one faction where it was like they were all non-American.
The Un-Americans.
The Un-Americans, whatever.
With Christian, Lance Storm.
No, it was a newer one.
With
like
Wade
Alberto
Barrett.
and
It was
that one.
Wade Barrett, Alberto Del Rio, Rusev, and Cesaro.
Because the only American would be Braun, but I still feel like that would. I mean, I think it would be really entertaining to see that, but boy, would they be dominant. I mean, I guess that's evolution to a T, but
evolution in the Hurt Business.
Yeah,
mixed with some United Kingdom, the United Empire or something.
I almost would be kind of interested to see current Drew McIntyre in a group, because we haven't seen that since he was in 3MB. So now that obviously he's much better and older and much more of an established talent in WWE that is not just a joke, it would be kind of interesting to see like what he would do in a tag team or like as the leader of a faction or something. Like, I don't know if that'll happen, but would be kind of interesting to see the evolution, pun intended, of him from 3MB to now, and like how different that would be.
And he was the ringleader of the faction. I would love to see it. He
really cool also though for Obafemi, because he's
very high praise.
He's a fan favorite for a lot of people, and obviously he's a very dominant figure in NXT as a North American champion. But hearing that from a guy like Drew McIntyre, who was a multi-time WWE champion, blah blah blah, like his main eventer or whatever, it's pretty cool for a guy who basically didn't grow up wrestling. He went into the Performance Center and learned how to wrestle and has been killing it. So shout out to Obafemi.
I love dun dun oh man. I'm trying to get that's why I was here. Thank you.
Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Tonga Loa. Replace him with Tama Tonga, and that would have been.
I love Tonga Loa. My favorite. Drew McIntyre also said in the AMA that his 5 stars he would wrestle or would want to wrestle that are not in WWE. Obviously, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada. I screwed up that name. Our boy Joe Hendry, Tetsuya Naito, which for anyone, he's the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion right now. He just feuded with Mox. Dude's really insane. And Tomohiro Ishii, who is do you know the bald dude that's in the conglomeration?
Mm-mm.
The bald dude that's videos he's been with Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly.
No.
He's a bowling ball. I love this dude. Like, hard as chops, tough as nails, all that. Those matches, especially the two New Japan dudes, I would love to see those matches, because I don't think we've ever seen Drew go that intense. No, let me backtrack that. Drew has been so intense right now and on fire. Imagine that taking over into the strong style. I would love it. It would bring a whole new level to Drew McIntyre. It really would. All right. Next question. Not question. What are you talking about? Speaking of violence, let's talk about the violence that occurred at AEW All Out. There are 2 things that stuck out mainly. Obviously, I mean, I'm just gonna group it all into one, but the lights out, unsanctioned main event, whatever you fucking call it, between Swerve and Hangman Page.
That was too much.
To some. And the other being that the Daniel Bryan being kicked out of the
Bryan
BCC.
Danielson.
I say Daniel Bryan way too often.
Okay.
Shit. I almost said it again. When Bryan Danielson got kicked out of the BCC, and his best pal, John Moxley, Mox, wrapped his head with a plastic bag.
Yeah.
That happened.
See,
and
I
I don't know.
So we want to talk about it. Yeah, I saw more people weren't into it, like Mercedes Monet.
I was gonna, you want to read the quote, or do you
Yeah.
have,
So I actually agree with her to an extent, because she said in her Money Mag, she said All Out was extremely violent, and honestly, Daniel Bryan, which I love how she's saying that, Daniel Bryan's stuff was tough to watch. I have mixed emotions. When done right, that kind of stuff can tear a roof off like Daniels did. However, I wouldn't want my brother Joshua to watch stuff like that, or kids for that matter. Let's face it, wrestling is multi-generational. When I do signings, I greet so many parents and their children. Growing up, I didn't have a father, so it especially warms my heart to meet families and hear how much their wrestling viewing experience and memories mean to them. Then again, there is an audience that loves the extreme, and you want to cater to them too. I think when it comes to AEW, yes, that's like, they definitely have that extreme audience because they've introduced that early on and they've allowed it. Obviously, Moxley is like the face of that, I would say, and Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland are right there below him because of the matches that they've had. I think that the issue isn't the violence, because I think wrestling is violent in general. So you can't, say there's no place for violence in wrestling. I think it's how you go about it. And I think the biggest issue that people had with these two matches was the plastic bag over Brian's head, which I do think was like, okay, that image is like, okay.
That was very,
Not necessary. That's the thing, is I've said before when we've talked about things like this, like specifically to AEW, I think they do a lot of things for the shock value, and you can do that sometimes, but I think there's ways to go about it where it's not maybe too much or like too controversial, and that might be a little bit too much. The other thing that most people were having an issue with was the syringe, and I do think that was like, all right, we didn't need to do that. Like, that was a little, because that goes beyond, in my eyes, and what I saw online also, that goes beyond like being extreme or being wrestling. That's just kind of like, all right, this is becoming like too much.
hatred.
And but there's ways to go about that. How many wrestling matches have you seen in your lifetime that was real hatred between two people that didn't have to go to that level to get the point across? Like, you felt it while you were watching it. There wasn't anything like that. So that's what I mean. Like, I get that this is a unique story and there's a deep history in between these two men, and they must have felt that something like that was necessary. But I do think that they are towing a dangerous line, because like, that's something that will not be liked by a lot of people, and then that's going to potentially deter them from watching something later, because that could be the last thing that someone sees and they were like, all right, I'm not watching this anymore, like. And the fact that we then also saw the plastic bag thing in the same night, it's like, Jesus Christ, like, it's a lot.
And
And
a very dark, twisted show.
well, and what if you took those moments away and they did something else? Would it really have taken away from the impact of what that story was, or what those matches were? Like, I don't know. I think that's another thing that you have to like take into account, is like, there are ways to portray certain things in wrestling and in stories and in between two characters and whatever, however they feel about each other, without taking it to such a degree that they did. And I think
Mhm.
that when you look back at these matches and people really did enjoy them, or whatever happens in the story, I think that if you could take the most controversial moments out and people still believe that they were good or they enjoyed it more, then you might want to like reevaluate the plans going in and be like, all right, maybe we don't have to do that. We don't have to go that far because we can do something else and we'll still elicit the same feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. Building off your point is, when I watch something like that, an extreme match like that, I always, or I try to find the why with the weapon use. For WWE, it's easy because it's around the ring, or
Mhm.
if it's not that, it's a weapon or some sort of connection that they throw right in your face and they hammer home to you. Not so much in other promotions. And with this, the only one I don't get is the syringe. The cinder block makes sense. I know it's not your cup of tea, but it does make sense though, because Swerve would do that he did it to Keith Lee with the Swerve
Yeah.
stomp, and he threw him on his
And
back,
that's something that you saw in ECW, so it's
and yeah,
not that's
like,
not like too far out there.
yeah, it wasn't, and it's not that far. It's, I saw a bed of nails, in Blood and Guts, um, which obviously insane, but it was Blood and Guts. I guess if you get thrown through a bed of nails, you get to see some gut. Back to the conversation with this match specifically. That was the one thing that I was like, why? The plastic bag with Bryan Danielson, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I also am under the assumption that that's just something the Blackpool Combat Club would do. Like, take it, kind of use your imagination here, Sarah. Like, if it was them celebrating with Bryan Danielson after a, celebration of something else, like outside the ring or whatnot. A good way in a mafioso or, gang type of way to get rid of someone is to suffocate them. And it was very simple. It goes to the roots of the BCC, where they don't need chairs. They don't need all these, big they'll do it themselves.
Mhm.
And that I'm going to wait on for a payoff.
Well, because you could argue that he technically did use a weapon. He used a plastic bag.
But it's not like a chair. It's not something
No, I
that's
know, but I
like,
just mean it could
yeah,
still be considered something. I think it's just the visual of it that people really took an issue with, obviously.
yeah,
And then when someone is doing that, you are trying to kill somebody, and that wasn't what he was trying to do. And so it's also kind of hard
that's
to be
true.
like, how does this make sense? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, I think the syringe spot is what really was catching people off
And
guard,
Mercedes,
because
yeah.
it's like their history is violent, and obviously that was the basis of the match, but like, what was that and what was the point of it? And like, you couldn't have done something else to take Swerve out and like end the match, you know what I mean? Like, that I think is why, like, if you can't immediately understand it or even a week later understand it, then I think, okay, if people are still kind of like, what the hell was that, then you probably didn't need that. Like, that shouldn't be the highlight that people are focusing on the match. That shouldn't be what I haven't seen the match. That's all I've seen though. That syringe spot and the chair shot afterwards. That's what everybody has seen that hasn't watched it before. Imagine that being your first visual of AEW. That doesn't feel very welcoming in my eyes. Like,
It's
most people are
true.
going to
It's
be like,
not.
what the fuck is that?
Also, Mercedes Monet saying those comments. Just gonna say, that's your company, and you're saying that. Not a good look.
I think
It's not a good look.
she clearly feels comfortable enough in her position that she feels like she can do whatever she wants. I mean,
That's still
and
fine.
that's why she's saying this. And it
Yeah.
also makes you wonder, did those spots not go well behind the scenes also? And that's why she's trying to like separate herself from it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because like I assume most people didn't know the syringe thing was going to happen or the plastic bag was going to happen that weren't involved with those moments. So it makes you wonder if she's kind of trying to like do that on purpose.
Plastic bag. Now, the more I think about the plastic bag, it's just so barbaric.
It's crazy.
Oh my god. All right. I don't want to keep shitting on the BCC because I do love them. I love this whole Mox thing. I love him going after Darby Allin. However, I don't love this. All right. Chris Jericho has sucked in Orange Cassidy back into his vortex and plopped him under the learning tree, continuing their feud from 2020 when Chris Jericho was covered in orange juice and his $7,000 jacket was ruined. So he's demanding Orange pay him back. And on last night's show, Jericho's going on a tirade like he usually does about how he demands the money and the consequence. Oh, bullshit. And Orange Cassidy's like, hey, Chris, hey, hi, over here. I have your money, man. Like, no problem. And proceeds to go over to the top-down Corvette, or it was
Bentley, I think.
It was a Bentley that Chris Jericho arrived to the arena with. And Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly proceeded to take, I'm pretty sure it was a cement truck. And it was a cement truck, and they filled the car with pennies. They filled the car with pennies, and then a nice little chuckle to end it. Orange Cassidy takes some of the change, so it's exact change. But the point with this, do you understand that he's using Vince McMahon as a gimmick? I don't care if that word is whatever.
Jericho?
He's taking the Vince. He's parodying. Parodying. That's a lot to say. Vince McMahon with everything he's doing. That spot last night, that's a famous Austin cement truck with the Corvette, like, and the whole hi guys and all this, like.
He's so in touch with what wrestling fans love that he needs to go back 20 years to steal ideas from a boss.
Wants to be hated, but he wants to be hated. Like, I hate to say this, as much as I hate it, it is fucking brilliant.
But he's hated as a person, not as a character. People are getting sick of Jericho. They're not getting sick of Learning Tree Jericho. There's a difference there. And I'm sorry, that segment didn't hit the way they were hoping it did.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
That was
That's not what I'm.
That was a bombed segment.
No, that's not. I'm not praising it. All I'm doing is pointing out. The obvious. I
don't know.
With this, it sounds a little counterproductive, but bear with me. He's steering into the skid of all these, please retire chants and whatnot, because when Vince was, running the company and doing this type of thing on the latter years, people were saying, please retire. Like, when is he going to get rid of the company?
But you're not Vince McMahon, Jericho.
But he's trying to be the AEW version of it.
It's not going to work. No one can, because the thing is
terrible,
like, if you, and I'm not saying this easy to do, and I'm not advocating to do it. However, if we go back to a time where you didn't know most of these horrible, disgusting things about Vince McMahon, and he wasn't dealing with lawsuits about these terrible things with women and whatever, Vince was like such a huge staple on Raw, and people enjoyed seeing him, even if he was so annoying and you hated him and whatever. People loved what he was doing with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, that is such peak Monday Night Raw in the early 2000s that there's a reason why it's not been replicated since, even in that company. Chris Jericho thinking that he could somehow be at all compared to Vince in any regard is kind of odd to me. Not to mention, you don't have a Stone Cold Steve Austin in AEW, brother. So there's no equal there. It's just not going to work. Like, just give up on what you're trying to do right now. It's not working, and this isn't going to work either. It's not. It's like this segment didn't hit at all, and his acting was horrific. It was so bad. Like the getting down to his knees and stuff. Like, bro, what are you doing? This is too much.
Terrible.
He was trying to save something that he knew was floundering, and it just didn't work.
I'm trying to see if there's any comments.
Yes, we've been saying this for a while, but hey, he said he has a 6-pack and can still do a moonsault. So
that's not a 6-pack.
No.
The bag spot, needle spot. I would say the cage match didn't go as hard as they thought it would. Yeah, I can see, like, that's the thing is, and that's why I don't like cage matches for feuds like this, because if this felt like they needed to go everywhere,
it need to be like
you
a
don't
street
lock
fight.
them up. Yeah, you don't lock them up. I know they had a death match and whatnot, but like that finished in the ring. You know,
Well,
this
and
is a
that's
feud where it needs to finish outside the ring.
well, and the thing is like, okay, it's sad that those are the two highlights, like I said, that people are talking about. That means that you, and not in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, even the chair spot was pretty bad. That didn't sound like everyone was trying to say it was a gimmick chair. No, it fucking wasn't. If you ask wrestlers, there's no such thing. And so yeah, I feel like they just could have done a lot more to have gotten the same reaction, but like more positive, you know, like instead of people just still talking about a needle in his gums, like. And Swerve, what the fuck is wrong with you for agreeing to that? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Some people are just wired different, Sarah.
Maybe he gets off on pain. There are people who are like that too.
Yeah, masochists.
Yeah, maybe he's a masochist. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You could not pay me enough money to put a needle in my gums.
What, Sarah? Main event. Let's do it.
Absolutely not.
Let's get
no.
right. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, do need to put you down for finisher because it is 1, 2, 3 count. Starting off with 1, I wanted to bring this up because I like watching clips from 6 Feet Under, Undertaker's podcast show that he has, and I saw a clip of Undertaker and his co-host talking about the Brothers of Destruction and how, when I say big, I literally mean size, like how big they were. And the example he used was the Road Warriors, how they were jacked. They weren't tall, you know, they're just standard height dudes, maybe a little taller than average, but they were fucking jacked. You know, you had Kane and Undertaker that are 6'6", 6'8", around that, maybe even taller. I'm not good with numbers. I'm a words guy.
I think they say like 6'10", but you never know because they lie.
It's up there, but it's fucking up there. And how good they were, but they never got the longevity. They didn't get a total push as a tag team because of how popular they were as single stars. So they brought up he says that our Undertaker was asked if he believes that they are, a top 5 tag team, or would have been a top 5 tag team, or greatest tag team of all time if they went on a lengthy run. And he says yes, which
I don't agree.
I would give him maybe exclusive to WWE. Like top 5 exclusive, maybe, but other than that, like top 10, yes.
Because
top 5 is
top 5, no. Because immediately you could say like Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, right? You could argue the Usos are in.
Usos and New Day, they're the longest. That's 5 right there.
Yeah, and so those are just like those are like right there, you know what I mean? And that is because I get it. The argument is there to say, yeah, because they were tag teams for years. However, 3 of those were tag teams at the same time that Kane and Undertaker were around and were doing tag team stuff. So it's like they were just lucky to be stars on their own beforehand. You know, the other guys came in as tag teams and then they were able to flourish on their own. So it's like it's hard to really think about, okay, Kane and Undertaker being a tag team at all for a long period of time because they were already established, you know. But given their like size and pure domination and like their lack of like real, I don't know how to describe it, like the things that they can do, their move set, I would say, is limited.
They were double team. They weren't like
Yeah,
team moves. They were just
they would never be able to compete with Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys. Like the things that those guys were doing, they could not do that because they were gigantic. They would be able to dominate them with size, but you're not going to see them jumping off ladders, doing moonsaults, going through tables, and you know, from the top of a 10-foot ladder. You know, like that is the kind of stuff that they couldn't do. So
I think
to me, like
they could have, but
they weren't, because
didn't.
they could be advertised differently. You know, like they weren't extreme. They were just gigantic men that people wanted to see for that. But I would say, yeah, if I can name 5 off the top of my head, I would say no. If especially if I can name that many on the top of my head quickly, then you're not top 5.
All right, I guess so. All right. 2. We talked about how extreme All Out was, so I thought for this week's 20 questions we would get extreme ourselves. So, Sarah, do you have a wrestler in mind, or do you want me to go first?
I have one.
You have one? Sweet. Yeah. All right. Is this a male?
Yeah.
All right. Boom. Did they ever jump over to WWE at some point?
No.
No.
Oh,
New Jack?
No.
Oh, okay. Never went to WWE.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Yes, he did. Sorry. He did. Sorry.
Oh, that's a question. That's just
Okay. Sorry.
I must put my finger down. Okay, so male WWE. What was the third one?
I don't know.
Oh no, I was on 3.
Okay.
I got one. I'm trying to think. Did they hold the ECW title?
No.
Did they use a kendo stick as a signature weapon?
I don't think so.
Are they known for drinking beer?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
I don't think so.
Man.
No. Just guess a name if you're gonna guess, because I'm gonna know more from that.
You're gonna more name. Is it Balls? No, you said he held the championship.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. Balls Mahoney.
Yeah.
It's my guy. That's fucking awesome.
I'm not really good at ECW people, but
okay. All right, I got an easy one for you. All right,
okay.
Easy one, Sarah.
Okay, is it a male?
It is a male.
Was he ever ECW champion?
He was ECW champion.
Did he go to WWE?
He did go to WWE.
Was he mostly in ECW? Or mostly, I mean, I know, yeah, mostly known for ECW, like WWE ECW.
He would be more in this currently. He would be better known for his wrestling in ECW.
Okay. Is he a founding? Is he like an original member of ECW?
Oh, he's OG.
Okay.
I don't know if founding, but OG.
Is it Sabu?
It is not Sabu.
Terry Funk.
It's not Terry Funk.
Okay.
You're close with Sabu. You were close with Sabu.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so he was in WWE though.
Correct.
Is it Raven?
No.
Is it
not.
Taz?
It is Taz.
Yay!
I was hoping you, because I said I gave you a hint that he was more known for his wrestling in ECW.
Yeah.
Where
Okay.
Taz, you don't really
Yeah.
you remember he wrestled, but like he
Yeah.
didn't put on banger matches. He put on banger performances at the commentary table. So,
Mhm.
all right. And 3, Sarah, here's the thing. Okay. I know this is your time. I know this is your time for the bad gal, but because you're in your brutality era, you kind of kicked me to the side.
Oh.
Okay, you kicked me to the side. That's what we're saying in kayfabe. So because of that, I was offered a pretty cool opportunity in 2K to be the general manager of WCW. All
Mhm.
right. So we're gonna take that opportunity and run with it with my GM mode. It's GM Pitts and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, because everybody's got a price for the $1
Mm.
Million Man. We did. I did this last night. I had my draft last night, and I am going to actually thank God for Quick Resume or whatever it's called. Yeah, Quick Resume. Oh fuck no. I drafted my roster last night, and I'm actually going to play my first week tonight. It's been so fun. But I got notes. We're bringing back Pitts' notepad, Pitts' handy dandy notebook. Been writing notes about it because I've been watching Stash Club Wrestling do their version of my GM,
Mhm.
and the shit that they're doing, I would lose track so easily. So they do like a timer for booking shows and whatnot, but they don't write anything down. So
Mm.
like they'll be like, "Oh, I forgot this person's champion. I forgot this." It's like
because they don't know who anyone is. That's why.
that's you got your beef. But
I'm
they
sorry. Not knowing the NWO's theme song is criminal.
it is pretty bad.
That's a hate crime.
But I did take notes here in my handy dandy notebook. So it is for anyone who's doesn't know the my GM mode. Oh, I missed the guess. I'm sorry, guys. The my GM mode 2K, you obviously pick a superstar or legend or whatnot. You pick a brand, as I picked WCW, and you go up against 1, 2, 3 different general managers for different shows, and you try to book your own shows with wrestlers. You have to book your arena, and there's power cards and whatnot that can fuck up plans. So in this galaxy, we'll call it whatever. I am the GM with Ted DiBiase of WCW. Teddy Long is on SmackDown. We got Paulie Dangerously over at ECW. And then Eric Bischoff for Raw. All right. I was between him. I didn't know if him or Mick Foley would have been a better fit, but it's Eric Bischoff on Raw. And the notes I have, so I'm getting my roster up right now because we made some moves last night. My champions are Roman Reigns, and the tag team champ, my world champion is Roman Reigns. Tag team champions are Dirty Dom Mysterio and Damian Priest. And then the WCW TV title, it's vacant. I want to do a triple threat match, and I'm going to, between Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, and Dijak. Dijak's still in the game. I'm so happy because I fucked so hard with Dijak.
That sounds fun.
And then we made the decision of signing the Undertaker as our legend.
Mm-hmm.
They have like an Immortals thing. I had the choice between the Undertaker or John Cena.
Wow.
I had to take the dead man. I had to. Fits the show better. I hate to say it, but he fits the show so much better. Let Teddy Long or John or Bischoff take him. As much as I do love John Cena, it's got to be a fit. All right. I guess he didn't have He didn't have a price. There's no price on John Cena for the $1 Million Man. But anyways, I can't wait to go play that and give updates here. In all seriousness, I'll be back next week with the bad gal. The real world's crazy with real jobs. Sarah can definitely attest to it. We just get busy, and one day we will hopefully like to make this the gig, the full-time gig, so I could be doing random shit like this every day, posting the nonsense for you peeps. That is the dream. But until then, we sling the fish. And until then, go subscribe, support the dream. Subscribe and hit that bell notification to know every time we go live. Like I said, we already have videos of Sarah and I talking about the Motor City Machine Guns going to NXT. Go and check that out and do a compare and contrast. Did anything change? Something did change while I was scrolling. Alex Shelley did post on his Instagram a Def Rebel song. So
confirmed.
I mean,
no one would willingly post a Def Rebel song.
I'm not. I'm not posting Def Rebel. All right. So that's a pretty good sign. And then also follow us on all social media platforms below. All right. And go head over to twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network to check out when I play the bad gal. I might even, maybe before the bad gal, we even check out the My GM mode and we book a show or two. We don't know. I just want to know if you're interested in it, because I'm going to do it. But if you're interested, I'll broadcast it. Okay, that's how it goes here. And that's the bottom line, because the champ says so. And that's a good way to end it. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We'll see you next week. Peace.